Hello everyone. I have been trying to pace myself through these videos and speak slower. For a while there I was speaking very fast, very rapidly, resulting in kind of confusion of thoughts. And I tried that starting yesterday, and it seems like the videos were actually shorter because the other thing I've started doing is skipping highlights more frequently. And like there is also a thought, to reduce the number of highlights from 10 to maybe like 5 or 7. That's based on feedback that I've received, and I'm going to consider that. But for today, it's still 10 highlights, and yeah, let's get started with our highlights today. I'm on the right screen. Yes. So the first one, 4,000 weeks. The most effective way to sap distraction of its power is just to stop expecting things to be otherwise. To accept that this unpleasantness is simply what it feels like for finite humans to commit ourselves to the kind of demanding and valuable task that forces us to confront our limited control over how our lives unfold. Yeah, this is kind of like a long run on sentence, but I still like it. That's the reason I highlighted this. It's um, it's kind of that, if you that saying, if you can't beat them, join them. And when it comes to our limitations in for example, the amount of time we have, that is limited. There's nothing we can do about that. So one way to deal with that is just accept it. It's just a part of who we are. In fact, it's more than that. It defines who we are. It's not really limitation, but if that weren't the case, as testified by countless popular media posts of immortal beings who eventually just get bored. It defines who we are, and the book kind of covers that. So, this particular highlight is talking about distraction. And like it says, the most effective way to sap distraction of its power is just to stop things to be otherwise. We will be distracted. It's right. It's not about avoiding distraction. It's about picking ourselves up. It's time to accept that, okay, we are finite humans. We can't control everything around us. We accept that, and then by doing that, we sap distraction of its power. It's not holding any power over us, because it happens. It is something that happens, and it is something that we can move away from. Well, let's move on. Cues. Highly charismatic people use both warmth and competence cues to communicate successfully. We love being around people who make us feel like we are in both safe and capable hands. We like our leaders to be both highly effective and very approachable. We look for partners we can trust with our deeper secrets and call in an emergency. We want to work with people who are both friendly and productive. Right. I think there's not much I can talk about over here. So it's a good book. I would recommend reading it. I'm kind of maybe like one third of the one third through the book. So yeah, let's go on. The case for developer experience. Okay, this is a post from article, but let's just read it. This means we need to shift from a mindset and approach of monitoring to a mindset and approach of observing, which in turn suggests that future of developer experience hinges on better experience of observability. The reason I highlighted this was, how much important the level of importance it gives to observability. And the software that I use, the work that I do day to day, observability is not really that deeply integrated in the tools. And this is something that reminds me that, okay, this is something I need to look into. And I don't know if I agree with this, as in like the idea that the future of developer experience hinges on better experience of observability. I think that observability is very important. The kind of the scale of challenges that we have faced in our organization, I have seen myself. Yeah, better experience, better observability is indeed something that we should aim for. But again, I don't know if I'm ready to accept that. Okay, that it hinges on better experience of observability. It very well might be, but yeah, it's something that I still need to work on. We'll move on. Okay, choose possibility. That's a rather long one. I don't know of any perfect journeys or perfect people. I only know of a process that allows us to keep choosing our way imperfectly and delivering impact. Over time, our accomplishments stack up enough that other people begin to notice. They tend to downplay or ignore our failures, label our accomplishments as success, and label us as powerful, observing that we wield influence over others. The truth is that we were powerful long before our biggest success and will remain powerful long after our biggest failure. We'll keep working on creating possibility for ourselves, generating more power with every choice we make. I think the author has pretty much covered all aspects that I could talk about over here. So, again, this is something I'm just going to reflect on this for a second and we'll move on. Why has nobody told me this before? I think it's the first time this highlight came up. It's a popular book, and I've started reading it. It's like I'm in the first few pages, so I don't really have an opinion on this book yet. I mean, like what I've read so far, I've liked it. I don't know if it justifies the popularity. Maybe that's something. Uh, Again, I'm speaking from a position of privilege. For example, my organization provides for each of us, support from a life coach. So these things are much more easier for me. So I am speaking from a position of privilege. So I can see why this is popular, but again, like I said, I don't really have a lot of, like a whole opinion on this book yet. Emotions tend to drive more extreme and biased views, but life is often more complex and full of grey ideas. It's okay not to have a clear opinion on something while you take time to think about different sides of the story. So give yourself permission to sit on the fence for as long as you need to. Build up that ability to tolerate not knowing. When we do that, we are choosing to stop living life by the first thoughts that pop into our head. Our choices become more consciously thought out. Well, this is kind of funny, right? I just said that I don't have an opinion, and the quote says that it's giving me permission to sit on fence for as long as I like. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, Dr. Julie Smith, and let's move on. So good they can't ignore you. Compelling careers often have complex origins that reject the simple idea that all you have to do is follow your passion. Um, okay, it's an intriguing highlight, sure. It's just that I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, I think anything that's worth to do, it's not as simple as just follow something, just follow your passion. There are layers and layers of effort involved. Certainly, following your passion, even that advice, if it's given, follow your passion, doesn't mean that, okay, you follow your passion and everything else will fall into place. I don't think it means that. It means that, yeah, begin with your passion. I mean, when you give that advice, it just means that you begin with your passion, but you still need to put in a lot of work, right? And the book is making a point that, uh, like, let me put it this way: the book is making a point that passion is overrated. As in, if the only thing you consider when beginning something is the amount of passion you have, you're probably misguided. So in both cases, my thought is the same, that anything that's worth doing is going to be difficult. There is going to be hard work involved. It's never going to be as simple as just do one thing and everything else will fall into place. So, yeah, let's move on. The molecule of more. The ability to put forth effort is dopaminergic. The quality of that effort can be influenced by any number of other factors, but without dopamine, there is no effort at all. Right, and this was very intriguing to me. And one of the experiments they mentioned over there involving, I'm forgetting, I think involving rats, and how when suppressing dopamine, they um, they kind of led to a situation where rats would not do anything at all, even for survival, or they just did bare minimum. I'm forgetting on the the difference between the results, but the conclusion was clear that dopamine is the hormone that determines the quality of the effort. And like the highlights is the quality of that effort is can be influenced by many factors, but without dopamine there is no effort at all. Like the first thing that you need is the ability to drive dopamine, and if that's missing, nothing else matters. So Nothing else matters in sense of the human biology, the biology of brain, and the neuroscience in that matter, in that way. Well, let's move on. Team topologies. A team with a facilitating remit does not take part in building the main software systems, supporting components or platform, but instead focuses on the quality of interactions between other teams building and running the software. So this book, it covers different kinds of teams and different kinds of interaction models, and it's referring to a team which is acting as a facilitator, and it's just pointing out that, okay, it does not take part in building the main software systems. It only focuses on the interactions between other teams building and running the software. I think for more, really, it's something that, to describe more of this, it's just necessary to read the book here. So we'll move on. All right, this is just a tweet. I'll move on. Range. Almost none of the students in any major showed a consistent understanding of how to apply methods of evaluating truth they had learned in their own discipline to other areas. In that way, the students had something in common with Luria's remote villages. Even the science majors were typically unable to generalize research methods from their own field to other fields. Flynn's conclusion: there is no sign that any department attempts to develop anything other than narrow critical competence. So I'll repeat that: there is no sign that any department attempts to develop anything other than narrow critical competence. And that's the major theme of this book. The critique that it's presenting is that in this world of specialization, what we are really building is narrow critical competence. We are losing the big picture view, and it's necessary. It's become more and more important to kind of reinvest our efforts in building a uh, generalized view of the world, generalized view of how do we solve problems, not just rely on specialization. It has its place, but it's kind of become an kind of overrated. It's kind of like, okay, the specialization is the only thing that matters now in careers, and that has to change. That's the mission of the book. And we'll move on. The ultimate introduction to NLP. I think I think I better skip this, and that brings us to the end of the video today. And again, I think I'm staying at something like 12 minutes mark, and I'm happy doing this. I'm still going to consider cutting down the number of highlights. Of course, Readwise lets me do that, and I can still keep reviewing more highlights in a different stream. I remember seeing some features like that. Anyway, if you want to try out Readwise, there is a link that will give each of us a free month. So if you're trying it out, if you're somebody who takes highlights from sources like Kindle or other reader, Apple Books or Google Books or something like that, or even things like library apps like Libby, Readwise could be useful for you. So do give it a try. The link is in the description. And I think that's it for today. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.